Hey, welcome back to the channel. Last week we talked about 2-5-1 and how you can use that concept and put it into any song you're playing. It's really great in pop music, it's great in church music, it's great in the gigs you're playing, if you're playing jazz, whatever. So we basically worked on passing chords, right? That's how we're learning to add some of the extra sounds that you hear in songs that maybe aren't always captured on the sheet. And so what we did last week was we broke down 2-5-1 and how wherever you're going, whatever chords you're going to, you can figure that out. You can take from the original key or the potential original key of the chord you're going to, and in that sense, you can put 2-5-1 in front of every chord if you wanted to. However, it gets a little muddy, right? We talked about that. So if you missed any of that, go back one. I also I'll put the last week's video up at the end of this video so you can get there very easily. This week, I want to talk about something that I've already discussed with my newsletter subscribers. It's a quick point for me to say, if you aren't a part of the newsletter yet, I'll give you stuff there usually earlier than I'll do it in video. I'll do my best to keep up with both. But if you want to see that ahead of time or see those things ahead of time, sign up for my newsletter. It'll be in the description underneath the video here. But what we talked about in the newsletter a couple weeks ago was, I made it sound a little bit like the old, 8675309, I think was that. No, forget those numbers. Okay. Don't use those. What we want to use instead is 7362514. And if you sing it kind of like that song I previously mentioned, the 7362514, right? So I'm not sure if I'm singing that right or not, but that code will unlock the 2-5-1. And it sounds like I'm just throwing numbers at you and you joined a math channel. You have not, I promise. This is a music channel. We're going to work on our keys playing and making our piano playing sound even better. It makes it so that you don't have to think quite as hard about the 2-5-1 concept. And so I'm going to show it to you here. What I mean by this is we're just going to play in the key of C this week. So here's the key of C. Let's say I want to go to the A minor. If I want to go to the A minor, I know that to get there, all I have to do is throw a 7 chord, some type of a 7 chord, and a 3 chord to get to the 6 chord. Okay, so if I'm going to the 6, which is the A minor, if I go into the A minor, I know that that's the 6. That's part of the trick here, is learning your numbers that apply to your chords. But I know that that's the 6 chord, and then I know in my head that means 7, 3, 6. And it's the same as 2-5-1, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But here's what I'd play. If I was trying to get to the 6 chord, the A minor, I'd play C. I play B half diminished, B half diminished 7th. So, and I play like an E augmented 7. I play a lot of times. You can play an E major, you can play an E minor. You really can play with the quality of the chord to get to where you're going. But I know my C, I can do a B of some kind, E of some kind to get to that 6, right? So knowing where you want to be, where you're going to go, then allows you to exploit or use this 7362514. So let's look at it here just a little bit deeper and just take a quick moment of our time to look through this. Now you should see it on the screen here, but I've written it out ahead of time, 7362514. So we are in key of C, right? Key of C, I'll put it on there. And so let's put the 6 chord in here, all right? So I'm going to put A minor. And so I want to get to an A minor chord in the key of C. Well, the 7 to the 3, that right there is a 4th away from each other. Remember how we talked about fourths last week? A perfect 4th sounds like Here Comes the Bride. The 3 to the 6 is also a perfect 4th. And if you were to follow through all these numbers, you would see that every one of these is a perfect 4th away from the next one, okay? So let's go back here. These are 4ths. So now I know, if I know this code, wherever I want to land, so I want to land on this 6, right? There you go. I'm not an artist. But if I want to land on that 6, I know by this code that I can go 7, 3, 6. And so then all I've got to do is start playing with different chords. So let me give you a couple examples here. So we can do what I talked about just a second ago, the B half diminished 7 chord. That's essentially, I'll spell it out for you here. The way I play it is in my right hand, I play A with my thumb. I play D with my pointer or middle finger, and then F. It's basically a D minor chord over a B in the, sorry, not A, the B note in my bass, all right? So that's one option. I also a lot of times play an E major, so I'll just put E major here. And what I would do there is a lot of times I'd play the G sharp, B, and we'll just make it a straight up regular old E major over an E chord, all right, or over an E bass, pardon me. So then I can land really nicely. So here's how that sounds. So I'm starting on a C. Most of these examples, I'm starting on a C, and then I'll do this B half diminished seventh to an E major, right, to an A minor. And that one I'm just playing an A in my bass and a G, C, E in my right hand. All right? Really simple. Now, let's do another example, all right? Using this exact same thing. The 7-3-6-2-5-1-4 gives you the 2-5-1 wherever you want to go. Hopefully that's making sense, but let me give you a couple more options here as I attempt to erase, all right? So we'll get everything collected up here and delete it. Okay. Another thing I can do, so the 7 chord is kind of weird, right? Like it's not a great chord by itself. So in the key of C, it's really this B half diminished sort of thing, right? So it's not great. Some people will write it in jazz chords as like a B minor flat 5. So it can be that as well if that's easier to think of. But basically, this chord just isn't a great chord. It makes you want to resolve. That's what it's good for. But another option you can do for the 7 chord is you can play the 5 chord, which is the G, over a B, all right? And then for the 3, let's try this E augmented thing that I just did a second ago, okay? So E, I'm just going to say E plus, okay? I think it was E, let's see here, E augmented 7, like sharp 9. That's kind of crazy. We're just going to do E augmented. So I'm going to show you what I'm playing. So I'm playing a G sharp. So down below here, I'm playing a G sharp, a C, a D. It's hard to hold the pencil and do the same, and the G, sorry. So those G's are pretty clashy if you put them right next to each other, but if you spread them out, it's lovely. And then an E in the bass, all right? And then this G over B, all I'm playing here is, let's see here. I'd play like we'll just do a root position, okay? So we'll do G, B, D, just going up, and then all over a B, because oops, that's really getting messy for you. All over the B. So it's basically the chord over the third of itself, which is an option. And so what this allows you to do, you can kind of see, you can just start to get creative with what you substitute in, okay? So let's do this one. So we're going to go G over B to an E augmented to land on that A minor. So it takes a little planning, but eventually you'll memorize these and you'll have these, okay? So here it is. C, we're going to go G over B, E augmented, back to our A minor that we just played a minute ago. It's an A minor 7, all right? So really nice. Let's do that one more time. All right. G over B, E augmented 7, sharp 9 is officially what it is. A minor 7. One more time without me talking. All right, it's really nice. So you can begin to experiment around with things like that once you know this. All right, let's say that we want to go to the 2 chord, all right? So in the key of C, that's a D minor, all right? So we're going to get to that 2. I'm going to write it up here. We want to get to the D minor, all right? So all I have to do is remember that in my 7-3-6-2, I'm trying to get to that 2. I just go back 2. I'm going 3, 6, 2, all right? And so again, these are perfect fourths. So we're literally, it's the 2-5-1 worked out for you. Hopefully that makes sense now, but these are perfect fourths away from each other, or fifths if you go the other way. That's kind of a tricky thing, but let's stick with perfect fourth for right now, all right? So then we begin to go, okay, what's a 3 chord I could use? What's a 6 chord I could use to that 2, right? And so let's try, on this one, we're going to go all majors just for a second, just to see how it sounds, all right? So we're going to do E major, and typically if you just do the capital E there, it counts, but we're going to do an E major to an A major to a D minor, all right? I'm not going to spell them out, I'll spell them out for you how I would play it. I would play, again, G sharp is a lot of times where I would start in my hand. I'll play B and an E over an E, okay? I apologize, I don't have a desk in front of me here, so it's a little sloppy at times. So I'd slide that then into like an A in root position. So A, C sharp, E over an A. And then the D minor, I would slide right into that as well. I'm really about being lazy when I play. Let me not start with the D, sorry. I would start with, in my bass hand, or in my right hand, I would start A, and you'll see what I'm talking about here with laziness. That A doesn't move, the C sharp slides into that D, and the E slides into an F, right? So it's like really lazy playing over D. All right, so let's try this progression now, and we're gonna go, so let's say we were just on an, let's just pretend we're on an F, okay? The song was in an F in this part of the song, and I wanna get to that 2. Well, I just know in my brain 3, 6, 2. I know this formula, and I already know that it's essentially the same as 2, 5, 1. And so all I'm going to do now is just play around with the ideas. No, we just wrote one out, so let's explore it. So here is an E major, so I'm on the F. I'm just playing some song in C, but I'm on F. Yeah. I'm doing E major, A major, D minor. All right? So all right, not bad. I maybe wouldn't always do the E major, but I wanted to try it and see how it sounds. A lot of times I would do the E minor, and so let's just really quickly edit this one to be that. And I would play within the key at times. Not everything has to be borrowing from another key. Also, next week, we probably will cover some of the tritone substitutions, so I know some of you are asking about that. Please stay tuned. It's really simple once you understand it, but I want to walk through it and spend a little bit more time than we have today. So let's just get rid of this G sharp, and that basically will give us our E minor. All right, so G, B, E. Gives us our E minor. Now let's try it and see what this sounds like. This is really cool. So we're on the F again in this imaginary song that we're playing, right? We're playing some sort of F, then E minor. All right, that's really nice. I like the E minor, A7 is another one. And I'm just kind of walking around the chords. All right, so that's another option. So again, I'm going to the 2. I'm using the E minor, A minor, D minor. The other thing that I sometimes will do, and we're just going to sneak this in as pretending that it's kind of the 6th chord. A question you can start to ask yourself as you either borrow from other keys or play within the key itself is, can I change the bass note? You could play a third, so I could play an E minor over B over G, an E minor over B. Anything that's in the chord, you can change and make that part of the bass. Another thing you can say is like, how can I make it sound most closely to the chord that would go there? So in the case of the A major on that 6th, a lot of times I'll play a diminished chord, like a fully diminished 7th. Okay, so we're getting kind of nerdy here, but this G diminished chord, so a G, B flat, D flat, E, and we could name it otherwise, but let's just call it that for now. G, B flat, D flat, E. Okay, instead of the A, or I would play that over an A bass. This is a really pretty chord. I'm not going to write it out on the screen. I'm just going to show it to you here on the keyboard. That should be shown on the screen as well. Now, let's try this one. We're on the F. We're going to play E minor, so the 3 to a 6-like chord to a D minor. Oh, beautiful, right? So let's do it one more time. That is the 7-3-6-2-5-1-4. So any chord you want to go to, just write this out. Start in the key of C. Say, hey, I want to go to the 1 chord. Well, then you play the 2-5-1. It's right there ahead of it. You just go 2 back. The other thing you can do is maybe you only have time or only want to put 1 chord in front of it. Well, then just go 1 chord back from where you initially wanted to land. But circle the note you want to go to. Write out what that chord would be, and then go at least 1 back and try to go 2 back. If you go 2 back, it's 2-5-1. If you go 1 back, it's just a 5 to a 1. All right? Practice that this week in the key of C. Give it a shot. Just start writing out different things. Middle of the week, I'm going to tweet out a really cool video by a group that I love. They're this jazz studio. I'm not selling anything at this time. I think they are selling some stuff, but they're just really sharp guys. I think you'll like them. Maybe they're a competitor. I don't know. I think we're all in this together, aren't we? We're trying to get better together. So I'm going to tweet that out. If you're not following me, follow me on Twitter. I'm not really trying to make a push for that other than this is probably the best place for me to share it to you. And so I want to make sure you see it. It's a really cool concept around basically what I'm teaching here. They're kind of just shouting out the chords, but what I've explained here to you will then allow you to take that and expand your playing even further. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great week. Thanks for being here. If you like this, would you share it out? I'd love if you would. And don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter just so you catch some of these things early. All right. See you next week. Have a great one. Bye.